This is the call to order for the Village of Salado's regular Board of Aldermen meeting located at the Municipal Building, 301 North Stagecoach here in Salado, Texas. The date is May 2nd, 2024, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Ms. Debbie, you can call the roll. At this time, we'll go do the invocation. Take a minute out of your busy day to go to your Lord in prayer. Pray for our village and our country and everything else of major importance. Thank you. At this time, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the Texas flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you all for taking time out of your busy week to attend this meeting. It is of major importance to the village, and we appreciate everybody taking time to be here. Item number 1 is citizens communications. We welcome comments from citizens on issues that of concern, not on the agenda and on the agenda. Please, you have 3 minutes to come speak. Please let us know your name and your address clearly. And the first speaker we have tonight is Miss Janet Kennedy.
I can get on my tiptoes. You can point it in. Okay, everybody can hear me now. Okay, my name is Janet Kennedy, or Jeanette Kennedy, really, but it's spelled like Janet. And my address is 9001 Farm to Market Road, 2843. And I want to speak on 2 subjects, if I may, real quick within my 3 minutes. One subject is I want to get out of the ETJ because I noticed, according to the new maps, everyone all around the new development is in the ETJ, all the way back to Salado and even to the south part of the Bell County. So I am announcing now that I want out. Now mine is only 27 plus acres, and it's been in my family since the 40s. And at that time, my dad bought it. And the second item that I had to talk about is, you've heard about it before. There's a plat that was filed falsely by the developers or City of Salado. I don't know which one. And someone else's name was superimposed over mine. So it's looked like that I do not own property where the drainage will end up going, because Mustang has filed another application for a sewage plant to be on FM 2843, and that drainage would go on my property, but according to the fake plat, you'd never know it because somebody else's name is on there. It hasn't been corrected, even though James Kirby vowed to correct it at the Clearwater meeting last February. He also told Manny that he would correct it by the April 26th, but as you know, that's come and gone. So this is the third attempt to try to get it done. That's all I had today.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Would anybody else care to speak? Moving on to item number 2. 2A is recognition of Sergeant Christopher Dunshee.
Usually loud enough. It's always a good day when you get to publicly recognize the accomplishments of your officers, and today is just such a day. The Texas Commission on Law Enforcement has 4 peace officer proficiency levels: basic, intermediate, advanced, and master. Upon entering as a new police officer and completion of the field training program, you're awarded the basic peace officer proficiency. From that point, it's up to you. There's a myriad of legislatively mandated courses, requirements for years of service, and specific number of training hours, which determines when you complete the requirements for the remaining 3 proficiency levels. I'm proud to announce that as of April the 10th, 2024, Sergeant Christopher Dunshee has met the requirements for the issuance of the Master Peace Officer license through the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Sergeant Dunshee joins Officer Oster, Officer Gatewood, and myself as Salado officers who have earned this Master Peace Officer license. Please join me in congratulating Sergeant Dunshee on achieving this career milestone. Yeah. Not only does it come with a certificate, it comes with an award to wear on the back end.
Speech. We need a speech.
I don't know what to say. That's good news. I'm moving in the area. Trying to make that commitment for the long term. So I plan many more years with this community, great community, and fellow officers and leadership. Leadership meaning not only on the police department side, but the administrative side, Board of Aldermen side. Appreciate everybody. Couldn't do it without each one of you. So, also, again, the community is super supportive. There's no reason I want to go anywhere else. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Mr. De La Rosa, do we have to pay him more money now?
No, sir, he's volunteering.
Okay, good. Very proud of our police department. I'd stack our team up against just about anybody, and from the chief on down, it's just nothing but professionalism to the maximum. So just thank you all for everything that you do, and you get out there. And I'm the mayor here, and I make my job sort of boring because I never have any complaints or anything about our police department. Y'all do such a good job, so let's keep it that way. All right, items number 3A and 3B is the consent agenda. A is minutes of April 18th, 2024 regular Board of Aldermen meeting, and B is the revised meetings of April 4th, 2024 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Any questions to Mr. De La Rosa? Anybody care to present a motion?
Yeah, what about
We're going to discuss those individually here in a minute.
we need to pull it out?
And we can pull them out. right, A and B. Did you have a motion? Alderman Henry?
Okay, I'll make a motion to remove C, D, E, and F from the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion to remove the C, D, E, and F from the consent agenda and place it into the regular agenda. Do we have any discussion? Or do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Graham.
Would you include, approving the A and B at the same time?
My motion was to remove C, D, E, and F from the consent agenda to be discussed as its own separate item.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to A and B. So we have a second on it. Discussion, any further discussion? Question has been called. All in favor of moving C, D, E, and F off of the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Back to items 3A and B. Does anybody like to make a motion to approve by Alderman Henry, second by Mayor Pro Tem Bell? Any discussion? Question has been called by Alderman Graham. All in favor of approving A and B as submitted, say yes.
Yes. Yes.
And all opposed, say no. So that carries 5-0 also, Ms. Debbie. Okay. We will now discuss item 3C, which is a petition for release from the extraterritorial jurisdiction from Rocket Point LLC, Quest Trust Company, property ID 516467. The governing body approves to release the property from the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the Village of Salado, the legal description being a 61-acre tract of land located in the Joseph Atkins Survey, abstract number 27, Bell County, Texas. Said 61.5-acre tract being a portion of that called of the 167.572-acre tract of land recorded in volume 4312, page 747, official public records, Bell County, Texas. Would anybody care to, Mr. De La Rosa, why don't you sort of run this through why this came off the consent agenda and what we're doing here tonight?
Mayor and Alderman, I requested that these 4 items be removed from the consent agenda so we could discuss this. Some of you have sent me emails recently about like Tesla coming out of Travis County. There are all sorts of movements on Senate Bill 2038, which was passed in 2023. In about October of 2023, the city of Grand Prairie filed suit against the state of Texas, basing it on various factors, one calling it unconstitutional. So there are arguments about property rights, and there's also arguments about cities' rights to plan in their extraterritorial jurisdiction. So think of it this way. Along 2268, FM 2268, which is kind of our southern city limit boundary, and then the ETJ right across the state highway. If you lived on, say, let's say Salado Oaks, right in that area at FM 2268, you could potentially be in the city limits and have something that you may not like right across the state highway sitting on 10 acres, 100 acres, 200 acres. So the whole point is that in the conversations that we've been having at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and one of the items that we discussed recently was about our comprehensive plan, the last one being done in 2019. And some of it also will address how the future planning of our ETJ will take place. So now let's get back to those lawsuits. I sent you an article. I sent you at least 2 links to articles. There are more and more cities going through this, and it's being set for dates, and other cities are submitting their briefs on it. One of the questions was, and I think it was Alderman Graham early on, and some others, why are we putting them on the agenda? And that's part of it, is that we want to memorialize what we're receiving. And if I didn't make it clear at that time, it was never the intent that I would recommend that we approve these petitions. It was for us to memorialize them, track them, and let the process continue through the courts. Okay, generally what you do when you're going to annex a piece of property or you're going to zone it, you pass an ordinance. there was already procedures in place for removing areas from the annexation and also from the ETJ. Governing bodies do that for whatever the reason. Sometimes it's whatever that determination. But cities also provide services in ETJs. It could be through a certificated area of water, sewer. It could also be that cities annex ETJs to collect the sales tax. Those that have economic development corporations that are, when they have a type A and type B within a city limits, but a municipal development district collects sales tax in your ETJ. So do you see the complexity of these issues of cities all around the state? So until it gets resolved, I think I would like to tweak this language. It is still my recommendation that you acknowledge receipt, but don't offer consent or approve. We'll let the courts determine that. You've got your authority by state law. State law is being challenged by cities. So if you take action and they want it to come in later on, it's going to be going through an annexation process, ordinances, all of those things, and it's going to complicate it as it is. People think that you can just say, I'm out of the ETJ, and that happens. That is not the way state law works. So whoever's spreading that is it is not factual. I sent you the sections of the Texas Local Government Code where it's been codified, all right? I have sent you articles what's going on, so it is my recommendation. And again, this recommendation was not made early on in consultation with the city attorney. I have had that conversation with them, and it is a recommendation that he would offer. But again, it is always your decision. But again, my position has been that you should memorialize them, acknowledge receipt. We'll track these, and we have been tracking these, and then we'll see what the courts determine. And it may take a few months, it may take a couple of years. But it's going to be a lot more work to undo something because we've taken a proactive. So there are many cities, and that's what those articles are saying. Cities are just refusing to take action on these things. And what happens if you take action? 45 days later, after the petition is received by the governing body, it defaults by state law. So therefore, we're not denying anybody due process. The state already did that. But what my recommendation is, don't change what the state law is. And even now, those laws that are this Senate Bill 2038 and the way some of the other processes work, and cities are providing services out in the ETJ, are in conflict. Let's not get into weeds, and let's just deal with the acknowledgement that we received it, and we move on. Now I'll take any questions.
What we said, that they submit their petition, we've received it, we've acknowledged it, but at the end of the day, they still have to go through the county process. And the clock's ticking once they clock.
It is, but in this, when I actually put it approved, because I put in consent, and the more I thought about it, I said, you know what, I shouldn't do that. Really, what I don't even want is that we've approved the receipt of it. We just want to acknowledge it. In other words, change the terminology, because apparently a lot of folks are catching on right now. And as we get more of these, I don't want to deny that it's come before you, because I think that's part of my job to present it. But really the policy would be here is that we've established by policy that we'll acknowledge receipt, and we'll let the process go through what the state has outlined at this time.
So since submissions of removal from the ETJ, for the lack of a better phrase, came in fashion, we have not approved the removal of any of those petitions at this point in time.
Yeah, because to acknowledge receipt, the formal process is we notify the property owners we've done it, we take some type of action, ordinance and stuff. So therefore, why mislead folks, right? We've not done it. We're not, I was never proposing to present you with a resolution or ordinance, and that was the discussion early on. I just thought it was time that we made it very clear.
Mm-hmm. Understood, thanks.
Any other questions to Mr. De La Rosa? So, Manny, the motion that would be most efficient and effective in this is just we make a motion that we that we've reviewed this, or we acknowledge it.
Yes, sir. Now, for these that are already in here, and as I said that I used to approve, my recommendation to resolve these tonight, take no action. They're already on our agenda, we've noted them, but you're not taking any action, which means you're not taking the approval action, right? Which is what it's gonna happen. It's gonna default to the 45 days, state law kicks in.
Understood. So at this time, would anybody care to present a motion?
I'll make a motion that we acknowledge the receipt of any petitions for removal from our ETJ, but table the consent and approval pending court ruling on Senate Bill 2038.
Is that pretty much what we need to do, or
Yes,
would
sir.
it be
No,
just
that'll
take
acknowledge
take
it.
no action at all?
Either one, I like to take no action just because it sends a loud message. But the alderman clarified it. I mean, and that's what we're going. That's in the intent. That's what we're doing. We're going to wait what the court decides.
Okay. So we have a motion by Alderman Graham to acknowledge receipt but take no action. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
That's on C, D, E, and F.
No, we haven't gotten the E and
We have
E
to take
and
one
F.
individually, or?
Yep. We'll have-
That motion is writ large for all four.
Yeah, and Mayor, he can
any
do that.
subsequent ones
Yeah.
until Senate Bill 2038 is sorted out in the courts.
You would have not read each one individually, Mayor. It was part of the consent. You would have just accepted it and adopted it that way. That's basically all the aldermen
No,
said.
but
So,
it's out of the consent agenda right now.
yeah, but you just moved it into another category and not the discussion of possible action. You moved it into, that little section that we've got.
All right. So I don't have to read these long-winded
No, sir.
things.
No.
Okay. So we have the motion that it applies to C, D, E, and F. Second by Alderman Henry. Any discussion? Question's been called by Alderman Cox. All in favor of approving the motion as presented, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. No. So this one carries 4-1. All right. Where are we now? Item number 4 is discuss and consider possible action regarding. I think we just did that. Item number 5 is status reports. A, the village administrator's report. Mr. De La Rosa, you're up.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, I am happy to report that we have a new tourism marketing manager, Ms. Deanna Whitson, and she'll step forward. You can see her, and Mrs. Whitson will start on full-time on May 13th, Monday, but she has already started working. She was there almost all day Saturday. She's been around. She comes in almost every day. So happy to have her as part of our team.
Would you like to say a few things?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really look forward to working with each of you gentlemen and being on the team, working with the community, being a team with the community, and seeing what we can do to bring more people here and let them experience what we know about Salado and share it with others. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Would anybody like to ask her any hard questions?
I already broke the computer, so I think I've done really well.
No, she's serious. She broke it already.
Well, we are excited about having you on board, so we appreciate you being here.
My door's always open if y'all have any.
Very excited about this hire.
Yeah, she's still working full-time and winding out at her current employer, so she won't start full-time on Monday until that day, but she has been coming in the afternoons and on weekends, meeting with our staff and trying to get to know some of our operations.
Perfect.
She's got an email, so you can send her an email. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And moving on to the next one, mentioned when we gave the financial report that I did not have the mixed beverage tax allocation number, and that was $3,020.06. So that is coming since then. So, and that was for the month of February 2024. Aaron Alderman, that's all I've got. Do you have any questions for me?
Hey Manny, hearing citizen comments, Ms. Kennedy she spoke about her desire to petition from the ETJ. Does that meet the requirements? And if not, can you please touch base with Ms. Kennedy and provide her the requirements to make that decision?
Alderman, yes, she communicated by email earlier today.
Okay.
I sent her the email, I sent her the link to the state statutes, the Senate bill, and we had this conversation before the start of the meeting, making it, at least, giving her the direction of the state statute.
Okay.
And I did it in writing earlier in the day.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to 5B, the Salado Police Chief Status Report.
Our calls for service actually went down by 43 last month, which was really surprising. I thought the Eclipse event was going to be a little bit more time consuming. But with that being said, priority 1 calls for service were down 6. We had 21. Priority 2 calls for service down 25. We only had 110. Priority 3 up by 3 to 138. And priority 4, 238 down 65. The average or the calls for service per day remained very similar. If you remember from last month, it was 17.8, I believe it is, and this month it went down to 16.9. So we're still hovering right about that 17 calls for service a day. I can tell you that calls for service Monday through Friday have increased immensely. If you'll notice up there on the board, or the one that you have in front of you, Fridays are actually one of our slowest days of the week now, with Tuesday, Wednesday occupying the majority of our calls for service. We also had a dip in calls for service between the hours of approximately 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. I don't know how to explain that. I do know that I've had Sergeant Dunchy coming in working some more of the night shifts, so maybe that helped reduce some of those particular calls for service. We did have 2 arrests last month. The first one was in reference to a traffic stop. Officer initiated a traffic stop on a minor traffic offense. Come to find out, the driver of the vehicle had a suspended license. He also had a warrant for a suspended license. So that situation was taken care of. Second arrest last month was also on a traffic stop. Officer initiated a traffic stop for a minor traffic offense. Found that the driver was intoxicated. And that individual also went to the Bell County Jail. We did have 32 incidents that we documented, 13 supplemental reports, and we did respond to 28 calls for service for crashes. Citations stayed about normal. If you remember, I try to keep it between 40 and 50%. We're right at 51.85. Last month we were at 42. So we did have a few more citations than warnings issued this month, correction, last month. Assist other agency calls for service for 3, and we did not appear before the grand jury. Response time breakdown. Priority 1 calls for service. We actually are 5 minutes and 15 seconds on priority 1 calls for service. That is actually a little high, but I will tell you, a couple of those days when you have the single lane bridge closed, the 2-lane bridge closed, and in order to get to Chisholm Trail, you have to go through Royal, and it takes a few more minutes to get there. So with that being said, response times are a little bit slower this month, but we did have, like I said, inclement weather, and the bridges were closed down on 3 particular days. House watches are up. Last time we had, I believe, 53. We're up to 71. Had some people going on vacation, but we got those taken care of as well. The Flock ALR report, we had 49,014 unique plate reads. You're going to see a way bigger number here in a minute. Those are actually all plate reads for the month, but these are actually unique plate reads for the month. We did not retain any license plates for investigations. We did have 68 system alerts, ranging from sex offender crossing one of our block cameras to a stolen vehicle, things of that nature. And during the course of last month, we accessed the system 10 times for administrative purposes in reference to retail theft, construction theft, and a hit and run that had occurred. Like I said, there's that big number for all plate reads for the month of April, 3,000. or 359,279 with a complete plate reads. Unique plate reads 49,014, like I said earlier, and we did delete 47,430 plates from the system. This is the daily plate reads, and if you'll notice, I highlighted where the eclipse is. We went to meetings for 4.5, 5 months prior to this. I can tell you that I made contact with some individuals at the Holiday Inn who said that they were completely booked, and then people started canceling because they were afraid the cloud cover was going to obscure their view of the eclipse, so they went a little further north. With that being said, we also had 2 extremely large gatherings right outside of our jurisdiction. One in the city of Belton, right off of Tahoya where the old Boy Scout camp is at, and another one out here off of Armstrong. Each one of those had approximately 200 individuals at those locations. So, excuse me. So, I hate to say it, I believe it was much ado about nothing, but it sure was cool, wasn't it? I was amazed. I didn't know it was going to get that dark. I really didn't. And it was a once in a lifetime thing. It was really cool. Okay. We did identify some training needs for the department. Officer Ferdin completed the intoxilizer training. Working as a night shift officer, if he comes in contact with a DWI prior to receiving this training, he would have to call other agencies and say, hey, you have an 81 operator, you have an intoxilizer operator available that can meet me over at the jail or meet me at the intoxilizer and run this intoxilizer report for me. If we couldn't find one, then he would have to take even more time outside the city and go all the way to Scott and White and have the blood draw done. So with that being said, we got that corrected. He's now an intoxilizer operator. So if he comes in contact with an individual that is intoxicated, he can go ahead and take him straight to the jail. He can do the 81 himself. He can hurry up and get the heck out of the jail and back into the city where he belongs. Officer Ferdin and Officer Blakemore also completed the standardized field sobriety testing refresher course. And Sergeant Dunshee completed hostage negotiation certification. I know what you're thinking. Why do we need a hostage negotiator? To be honest with you, that class teaches more than just hostage negotiations. It teaches interpersonal communication skills. And you can always use interpersonal communication skills, especially when you're dealing with 2 individuals, whether it's a husband and wife, or it's a landlord-tenant, or it's neighbors. It's a great class to have. Give you an update on Cadet Manning. His average slipped a little bit. I'm a little upset. He slipped from a 95.799 down to a 95.134. But he is still ranked number 11 in class, so that's 11 out of 21, so that's not bad. His physical fitness score, 277 out of possible 300. He's ranked number 3 in the class. He did slide a little bit. Last time I gave you an update, he was ranked number 2, so we're going to have a conversation about that. And we did bring on Officer Robert Gatewood. Actually, come on up. I've known Robert Gatewood for quite a few years. He has 25 years law enforcement experience. Most recently, he was assigned as the lead detective for the Belton Police Department Special Operations Division. As a detective, Robert has been involved in the investigation of crimes ranging from homicides to crimes against property. However, he has distinguished himself in the area of financial crimes. Robert has experience as a field training officer and a police academy instructor. As a matter of fact, Robert assisted me in authoring the field training manual that is currently being used by the Belton Police Department and the Salado Police Department. Robert holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from my alma mater, Texas A&M University of Commerce. Go Lions. And if you didn't know, Texas A&M University of Commerce is for those of us who wanted to have the prestige of graduating from Texas A&M University but didn't want to have the student loan debt associated with going to College Station. His longtime girlfriend, Carrie, they collectively have 3 children. Nicholas, who is a jailer with the Bell County Sheriff's Office. Alexandria, who affectionately goes by AJ, who graduates from the Central Texas Christian School this year, and she plans on attending Tarleton State University. And Colt, who is currently in middle school. I'm very pleased that he decided to come down and work with us. He came to me, I will tell you this, he did come to me and said, I'm thinking about retiring, would you consider hiring me? And I said, I will not consider hiring you until you tell your previous or your current employer that you're thinking about retiring. I'm not going to be the guy that stole somebody, but I think you stole it. So please join me in welcoming Officer Robert Gatewood to the Village of Salado Police Department. Yeah, welcome.
Thank y'all for letting me come. I appreciate it. With my resume on the board, I retired with my former captain, who didn't mention over special operations. We had a great team that started working together, and I want to continue to perform. If you don't know about this man, he cares about every employee that works for him. They always have, always will. And to prove it today, he actually took a letter from Belgium to line just to take care of him. That's the kind of man he is.
This wasn't about me.
Welcome. I'm very excited.
You bet. Thanks. Welcome.
So, Chief, one question I have is, so you're saying that a Belton detective is equal to one of our patrolmen?
He is now.
Okay. I want to make sure. All right.
We have promoted him to patrolman.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you. Excited about you being on our team. Just look forward to seeing you out and about in this great community. Chief, you have anything else? Any questions to the chief? Chief, continue your great work. It's always a joy to see our police department. On most occasions. Okay, 6A is discuss and consider possible action to approve of ordinance number 2024-02, an ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, providing for the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Smith Bluff Road and Smith Bluff Way, creating an all-way stop and including the following findings of fact, effective date, repealer, severability clause, and proper notice in meeting. Mr. De La Rosa?
Mayor, Alderman, we recommend the approval of this ordinance. With your approval, if it passes this evening, we will publish the caption that it's been adopted at next week's newspaper as required by ordinance and state law.
Are any questions to Mr. De La Rosa? This time we'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alderman Cox. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Graham. Any discussion?
Question.
Question is called by Alderman Cox. All in favor of this, approving this ordinance, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Carries 5-0. Item B is consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 2024-03, an ordinance of the Village of Salado, Texas, granting Mustang Springs Utility, LLC, certain powers, licenses, privileges, and franchise to operate and maintain a water utility system within the village, to use the streets, avenues, easements, right-of-ways, alleys, highways, sidewalks, and bridges in said village, and prescribing certain rights, duties, terms, and conditions, providing for the payment to the village of a percentage of its total billed water usage, providing for acceptance, and providing for certain related matters. Mr. De La Rosa, that's quite a mouthful.
Yes, sir, that was. Mayor, Alderman, it's my recommendation that this ordinance be approved as submitted, and I'll take any questions you may have on it.
Manny, in layman's terms, what does this do and what does this not do? Just to clear up any misconceptions.
Yep. The development company will establish a water supply corporation that it'll file that it has, so they can start the process of being able to get the utility. They've either started the drilling their test wells, I did have a conversation with Dirk Aaron a week ago when I was down at Bell County Appraisal District. So we discussed this project and some of the work that they're moving toward on their utilities. We discussed the plat issue. We discussed, just in general. So some of those conversations, I can't get too much into too much detail because some of these developers also have certain property rights. I think that one of the things that a lot of folks forget is that when you annex them, they became property owners in the village and also have certain rights. So I recognize that there may be an issue that we're still trying to resolve with the plat. I can tell you I've been in contact with the owner, their engineer, as recent as a week ago. So they are resolving it. They brought the scripters notes to me. There was something else that they wanted to address, and that made it this, yeah, that is not a something you can just do with the scrivener's note. They could if we approved it. I think you've known me in 4 months. I don't take a lot of shortcuts. I said that's going to require a amending plat or a minor plat. As it, depending on what you do and what you're trying to do, will require additional steps. So some of you have asked in the last 2 weeks or so when I've had this conversation, and I've mentioned this. So they have a duty to move forward. Again, this plat was filed and signed off by a lot of governing bodies. Now, if you've been around city government the last 3, 4 legislative sessions, 6 to 8 years ago, the state legislature changed on the approval of the plat process. There was also something known as a 30-day shot time. So in other words, when it's filed, you've got 30 days to approve it, disapprove it, nothing frivolous, or it automatically gets approved. So if you haven't been paying attention the last 6 years or so, 8 years, the state legislature considers developments with a lot of property rights. Right? So there are plats, and I know cities in Central Texas, and I'll name them. I know Kyle, Texas, and Liberty Hill that didn't take action on plats in a timely fashion, and I happened to be there. I got a writ of mandamus, and that plat was approved because I ordered to the governing body. If you hold these things up, there are other remedies. That doesn't mean they're not going to correct it, and you still hold the power of not issuing any building permits, which is kind of but they're a long ways from there. This franchise agreement they needed, because if not, it's just like starting a MUD or certificate area. They're trying to get their paperwork in order that they've got it. And again, you saw when we were pushing back on the franchise fee, they pushed back. They said, why are you charging us more than another one in your same entity, right? Because it comes, you've got to treat everybody fairly and the same. So my recommendation is these are standalone. This is standalone. When we get to the building process, the plat filings, the building permit issuance, water lines and sewer lines have got to be in. You're not going to issue anything until those things are in. So therefore, you still hold a lot of leverage, but you're not holding them up in something that the state legislature has been pushing, which is those plats. So I'm a little surprised that all the signatures that I see on plats, because in some areas, and you're waiving, if you look at our own plat process, so you're waiving the 30 days, right? What if somebody says, I'm not waiving the 30 days? Get it done. So, and if you haven't seen that, I think it's on our development process. And we get those waivers. I've also seen when they've not been signed. So, as a matter of fact, I can tell you, the one I sent you yesterday on the one I told you that I got sidewalks going in all around a commercial tract. That development application didn't sign the 30-day waiver. So, luckily we moved forward and the problems would now. If you have a reason to hold it up based on subdivision regulations, you better point it out early. Okay, and that's what's very important. But you've already got a plat that has been signed by every entity and filed. That creates some problems. And again, without going into a lot more, you may want to consult with your city attorney on those kind of things. But I'm just giving you the overview of what you've got. So with that being said, my recommendation is still that this ordinance as submitted to you be approved.
Manny, who authorizes them to get water? Is that Clearwater specifically?
Clearwater will issue the groundwater withdrawal permits once they get their test results and get the analysis. So
That hasn't been done yet.
that has not been done, and whatever the construction of that well will also get TCQ approval, right? So
They have two approvals.
yes, sir, they do. Yes, and also this your rate structure, your ordinances is managed by the Public Utility Commission of Texas. That's who does rate structures, these ordinances. So they will regulate that, whether it's a water supply corporation, even the city of Salado. When it comes to our wastewater, we are regulated by the PUC. Okay, so
All we're doing is approving what they can do after they get the approval for their water and sewer operation.
that is correct.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and that's that is Clearwater is created by the state legislature. They're pretty equal to, but then there are state agencies that are looking at this. We'll be looking at it. And this project is not a year, 2 years. This is like multi-year. You're not going to see a lot of activity for the first 2-3 years, but there's a lot of activity in the background. And then the 4 phases, and phase 2 is split up into 2 separate phases. You've got a lot of moving parts here over the next few years.
It almost feels like putting the cart before the horse once again with Mustang Springs. They don't have any water that has been approved for water, and haven't even started drilling test wells yet. We're going to sign off on the ordinance allowing them to sell water. I think I can see an issue with them, another non-compliance issue coming up, reading this, saying, well, we thought that we could go ahead and even though Clearwater doesn't approve it, they do a test well, they start pumping out of it. So, well, we passed an ordinance that says that we could do these things, we could sell the water. But why not wait until we have water approved before we put this ordinance in place?
Yeah, let me give you an idea about land development. They always try to get all of their entitlements out of the way. The owners today may not be the same owners next week, next year, and 5 years. Okay? And the reason that they do that, and this is why it'll happen within the 5-year period. Texas Local Government Code Chapter 245 is known as the vesting statute. The state legislature hasn't touched that statute long time now. It's a 5-year period. From the moment that they submit a diagram of a basic development concept, and they present it, and you don't deny it, they got 5 years to do a lot of things, and they are well vested within those time periods. So again, Texas Local Government Code Chapter 245. People know it known as the grandfather. It's the vesting statute. And Alderman, developers will look for property and get all of the entitlements they can, and sometimes they flip these properties.
Sometimes they what?
They flip them, sell them. But they get as many of those entitlements because those entitlements have value. And they just, in my 3 decades of dealing with developers, this is not new to me.
It's not going to negatively affect our position in this deal at all.
It doesn't. But that's why they can do these things and hold on to them and that vesting until that. For example, you reach a development agreement and they don't do anything, and it's got these callback provisions, 5 years, but then you offer an extension, you have just extended that timeline, right? So unless they are total breach and they haven't done anything in a set period of time, and you can document it, those are lengthy court battles. So you're not dealing with folks that are the moms and pops or little single lot development. You're talking large acreage. So today when I was looking at the map, because I pulled that out to Deborah because I was kind of walking her through it in case she gets any questions when I'm not around. Look at the size of that development and look at the size of the city. It is massive, right? So I don't know what their game plan is, their ultimate, what is the end game for them? I don't know. It's not for me to determine. I'm just telling you that in their position, I see these entitlements work off. They're some are overt and some are covert, right? You've got that same movement right now with local real estate and brokers that are meeting with me, and all they're trying to do is get those entitlements out of the way, right? We see the release of ETJs, and I'm meeting with some of these brokers, and what they're looking at, well, we'll come back, because here's what they're doing, we'll come back when you offer incentives. Sometimes cities go, yeah, we're not doing that, right? So sometimes it's a leverage, sometimes it's, who's gonna blink first, but you're in a position that you're gonna get growth because you're sitting on I-35, right?
Any other questions to Mr. De La Rosa? All right, would anybody care to present a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-03.
Great. Alderman Pro Tem Bell makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Cox. Any discussion?
Question?
Question been called by Alderman Cox. We'll go down the list on this one. Alderman Howard, you vote yes to approve or no not to approve?
No.
Alderman Graham?
Yes.
Alderman Henry?
No.
Alderman Pro Tem Bell?
Yes.
Alderman Cox?
Yes.
Passes 3-2, Ms. Bean. Item number C is consideration and possible action on approving amendment number 3 to the agreement for the operations, maintenance, and management services with Operations Management International Incorporated for the period of April the 1st, 2024 through March the 31st, 2025. Mr. De La Rosa?
Mayor and Alderman, I have representatives here from Jacobs, and my recommendation is that we approve this amendment number 3. It was consolidated. You might recall last time there was 2 separate amendments. They've been consolidated. I'll later walk you through the CPI and the ECI, and based on that, and then based on the industry standards, I actually reached out to some friends that utilize comparable management companies, and I'll ask Mrs. Alexander to explain the ECI, the labor market portion of that agreement and why it's utilized in this industry.
So thank you for having me again. Again, my name is Andrea Alexander. I'm the project manager for Jacobs and your wastewater plant here in Salado. As you recall, the last time we had a meeting with ourselves last month, there's some concerns about the previously written agreement. Former amendment, there was a CPI formula that was previously agreed to in amendment number 2 that was hard and fast, had a base floor of 2 but no cap, and that would differ from the original agreement, which the formula was in addition to negotiations. So with a conversation with Mr. De La Rosa and myself, we decided to revert back to the original agreement, which includes negotiations of annual base rate increase 3 months prior to the rollover period, which is April 1 every year. The negotiation period can take as long as we need, based on our budgetary needs, additional employees, tool supplies, market, what have you. Now we took away the floor. There is no floor in this case, and the cap that was requested is this formula. So the formula slightly differs from the previous formula that was used, which was just the CPI calculation, the Consumer Price Index, in that was the only option before. and it did have the floor, and there was no ceiling. The formula in this case includes the CPI and the EPI, which is the Employment Cost Index as well. So it's taking both into consideration based on the U.S. Department of Labor, and that formula serves as your cap in the event we cannot come into agreement during that negotiation period. And just for reference, last time I was up here using the formula, again, it was different. It was just a CPI formula. The base fee increase was a 4.58% increase. Again, no negotiation during that time period. Since we reverted back to the original contract and we're kind of bypassing that negotiation period, the idea is in the future, we will start around January with the negotiations well beforehand. But this time, due to the delay, we're just going to move forward with that said cap. So the new formula with the EPI and the CPI included actually reduces the base fee increase in this case to a 4.4% increase. A slight decrease, and for reference, the previous base fee was $177,191, and in this year's new base fee amount using that formula would be $185,061. Again, the annual base fee increase is standard year to year, as you know, inflation, but that formula would serve as your cap, and again, no floor. And those tables are again taken from the U.S. Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor. So they're standard, the formula is standard, it's not something that we come up with. We just use the prior base fee formula and enter their table and their data that they produce every year using the third quarter's, the previous year's data information. And again, that's only used in the event that we do not come into an agreement during that negotiation period. Any questions about that particular change?
Last time I think we discussed that there was some damage to the equipment.
Correct. Yes.
Has that been funded back to us or?
It was never billed, so we absorbed that, and it was never billed and never will be billed. Yes. Okay.
All right, any other questions, Jacob, or to Mr. De La Rosa?
So the 185,061, that's an all-in cost for 12 months, right?
Correct.
And what are extras that may be added on that aren't in this price throughout the year that we would see possible?
Repairs. So the facility being on the newer side, only about 6 years going into its 6th year of service, repairs are minimal. We discussed in writing via email a gearbox that we needed for the current flood stream in the headworks of all the raw influent coming in of wastewater. The shaft is not turning, it's seized up, and there's a new gearbox that was approved. And all repairs over $500 are to be approved by Manning before we proceed, and are to be written and discussed if needed. So all repairs and everything else is included in the cost of the bid fee.
Manny, does this all fall within budgeted amounts that we have?
It is within the current budget, yes,
Within
sir.
our current budget, then
It is.
we'll build in the
Yes, sir.
other 6 to 9 months within the next budget.
Yes, sir. Let me add that as I'm going through the federal appropriations from the EPA, we actually had some funding to maximize the 1.5 million appropriation for the 25% match. Comes out to about 1.875 million. So we indicated that that we didn't have enough expenditures. So part of the conversation I had with the MRV group this last week. So we're going to actually address the driveway issue out there. That's required in the Texas Administrative Code. We're adding that in. MRV's been out there. I'm going to get Armand Hunt to, we're going to do an assessment to see what other, where we can maximize what we've got, just to make sure that if it's a big ticket item, we can put it into that project. So we can, again, maximize what we're being granted with our match. So, so we were, I think when you bid it out last time, it was like you were at 900,000, so, you needed to get close to 1.5. So we are adding some stuff into it, and again, that'll be happening in the very near future.
Manny, are you good with this negotiation strategy?
This amendment? Yes or no?
You're good with how you fall into the negotiation path?
Yes, sir, I do. I am good with it.
Okay.
And
You're comfortable with the CPI calculation the way it is? It does place a cap on it.
it does place a cap, so I think we addressed your concern. And again, I like the idea, and again, it had been a while since I had seen the ECI, so I had to go back and study that again, and then look at that, and then once I got comfortable with understanding how that actually worked and could actually benefit us, I said, yeah, this is good. And again, I want to thank Mrs. Alexander and Greg Weeks, her supervisor. So they were good to work with on this.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Would anybody care to present a motion?
Make a motion that we approve amendment number 3 as negotiated and written with the Village of Salado and Jacobs.
All right. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Bell. Any discussion?
Question.
Question has been called by Alderman Cox. All in favor of this amendment, number 3, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Carries 5-0. Manny, at this time, we'll be entering into an executive session.
No, sir. No items.
Good deal. I wonder about that. I thought it might be in trouble.
No.
And item number 8 also. We have a movement to adjourn. So moved.